In this set of video tutorials, we'll be creating some very simple objects for 3D printing and characters using Maya 2017 Lite. So this is Maya, and as you can see, we've got a perspective view and some very funky menu sets at the top. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to use the interface. Once we've done the interface, then we can move on very quickly to actually creating some 3D objects. Now, the first thing to notice about the interface is that we have one large perspective view in our screen. So in order to change that, all you have to do is press the space bar. Now pressing the space bar brings up the top, front and side views. And all you have to do to jump between these views are to put your mouse on top of the view that you want to jump into and press your space bar again. So move your mouse, press your space bar, move your mouse, press your space bar, and you can jump around clockwise. The most useful view to us at the moment is of course the perspective view. So place your mouse over the perspective view and press your spacebar. Now that we are in our perspective view, we can actually create some objects, and I can show you a little bit more about the interface. The most important menu set that you want to be in is at the top left hand corner, and you want to be in your polygons menu set. That's the most important one because then we can create some very simple shapes including spheres, cubes, cylinders and of course cones. So let's start off by creating a simple shape. So let's create a polygon sphere. So simply click on polygon sphere. As you can see, it now creates a perfect sphere in the center of our screen. So again, if you press spacebar, you will see that sphere is in all of our views, which is great. So spacebar back to perspective view. Let's see what we can do to make this object move around. Now there are some very important keyboard shortcuts that you need to be able to make this sphere move. So those are W, E and R. Now you have got the same abilities to move your sphere around using the left hand side controls and menu sets here, but I prefer not to use them. I think it's a lot easier if you don't. So by pressing W, you instantly see that you get your move tool. And that move tool allows us to move our cube left and right, front and back, up and down, lots and lots of ways of moving the cube around. And if you press your spacebar, you will notice that you can also do exactly the same thing in your other views, and they will automatically update. So you can now move your sphere around. So I want you to simply place it anywhere in your scene. For a bit of practice, what I'd like you to do now is to create a cube. Having created the cube, I want you to press E on your keyboard, E for egg, and I want you to use the axes to rotate it around. So E is used to rotate. So we can rotate our cube around, and by pressing W again, we can move it. So again, I want you to simply move it around in your scene and place it anywhere. Next, let's create a cylinder. So by pressing R on our keyboard, we can now scale the cylinder up, and we can also scale it along any axis that we so choose. So by simply selecting one of these lines or smaller cubes, the red, blue or green one, we can actually scale it along a specific axis. And you can do exactly the same for the move tool. You can move it around, and also of course for your rotate tool. Simply select the right axis and you can move it around. So if you want to specifically move it on the y-axis, then select the green. So there you go. So using R, we can now scale our cylinder up and down, as well as rotate it and move it around in our scene. So having done that, let's take the cylinder and move it off to one side. So as a bit of practice, please create as many different objects from this menu set, from the polygons menu set, and simply fill your scene with them. So anything you want, feel free just to create it and move it around. Just to practice using these manipulators and these axes. Once you've done that, I think that I would like you to close down the scene, so File, New Scene, and don't save it, because that was simply a practice scene, and if you wanted to print any of these objects, it'll become very easy to do so much later as we progress through the tutorial. Next, what I'm going to show you is not just how to move an object, but how to move the perspective camera around the object if it is stationary. So if the object is not moving, how am I going to view it from different directions? So please create a new polygon sphere. And what you are going to do now is I want the polygon sphere to remain still, but what I want you to do is to press Alt and your left mouse button, and you will see a arrow coming up for rotation. And this enables us to rotate the perspective camera around the sphere. So, having done that, now I want you to zoom in to your sphere. There's two ways of doing that. You can hold down Alt and the right mouse button and you'll be able to zoom in on the sphere, or you can simply use your middle mouse to scroll in and out to enable you to get a closer view of the sphere. Alt and left mouse button to rotate around it. Now, what I want you to do next is Alt and press down on the middle mouse button. And this enables you to move left, right, up and down on the camera. And that's pretty much it. It's Alt, left mouse button to rotate, Alt, middle mouse button to go left and right, and of course scrolling the middle mouse button to zoom in and out. If, however, you lose an object, so it's somewhere over here and you can't find it again, simple solution is to select it, or make sure it is selected, and press F, and there you go, it will come back. So you can use F to focus on objects. The next step is to be able to manipulate this object, so it's not just to move it around, but actually to do some sculpting on it. Now there's a hidden menu set that you need to be shown that will enable you to do this really, really easily. So all you have to do is select your object like so and hold down your right mouse button. And by holding down your right mouse button, you then get a new menu coming up. Now this menu, you've got vertex, you've got edge, and you've got face mode. So let's have a quick look at what these do. So holding down your right mouse button, let's click on vertex mode. Now vertex mode enables us to see these cubes and triangles and be able to select their points at their edges. So these are simply, best way to think of them is as full stops that enable you to move the corners of the polygons and quads that make up this object. So as you can see, by pulling out, I can create quite an interesting shape, and I can directly manipulate the surface of this object. So having done that, now let's have a quick look at edge mode. Now edge mode is fairly obvious. It allows us to select specific edges, and as you can see, it gives us a much bigger result than using vertex mode, which is almost as if you're moving a single point on the object around. Pretty much is. Next, of course, we have face mode. So hold down the right mouse button and go down to face mode. And that allows you to select a single face and move it around. So you're creating things like noses, ears, pretty much anything for a character. So this could be quite a cute little fox if we were so inclined to create something like that. So there we go. That is a quick demonstration of these different hidden menu sets that allow us to edit our object. In the next step of this tutorial, we'll create either a cute pig character or a cute cat character ready to be printed off. So let's abandon Fox here because whilst he's cute, he's not really right for the job. So File, New Scene, Don't Save. And what I want you to do is create a polygon sphere. Having created your sphere, let's zoom in on it. Now, let's use our vertexes and edges and also faces to create a new character. So let's say we're going to create a pig. The top of the sphere looks pretty good for a snout. It looks already quite snout-like. So let's press E and rotate it around. And let's use our, which axis? Let's use the red axis to do this. And taking your red axis, let us rotate the sphere around. Now you'll notice that up here you have a menu set which has got rotate X on it, and it's gone to 91 degrees. So let's simply enter 90 degrees in here, and we'll have basically rotated it precisely 90 degrees. So you can actually, you don't have to manipulate objects, so that's a very good idea to do so. You can enter exact values up here for it to translate, rotate and scale.